What if the moment you stopped giving a damn was the exact moment she started losing her mind? What if everything you thought made her love you, your attention, your effort, your devotion, was the very thing that made her walk away? Here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. The more you chase, the more you repel. The more you beg, the less she respects you. And the second you go quiet, not out of spite, but out of strength, something inside her shifts. That silence. It echoes louder than all your messages ever did. This isn't about playing games. This is about taking back control. Stoicism teaches one thing above all. You're not ruled by your emotions. You rule them. That's what makes you different. That's what makes you powerful. Detachment isn't cold. It's clarity. And once you step back, once you stop reacting, once you stop caring in the way that drains your soul, everything starts to flip. She begins to question, to doubt, to spiral. Why? Because the one thing she was sure of, your attention, is gone. This is a story of heartbreak turned into fire. A man broken, then reborn, not to win her back, but to rise so far above that she's left wondering how she ever thought she was the prize. You want her to regret leaving. You don't do it with words. You do it by disappearing into your purpose and coming back unrecognizable. That's the shift. That's the power. That's stoic. If you're done chasing ghosts, if you're ready to reclaim your power, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. I control my energy, not their actions. Number 1, the fall. When you gave too much, you gave her everything, your time, your focus, your loyalty. You made her your priority while she treated you like a placeholder. You rearranged your life for her, answered texts the second they came in, let things slide that you never should have tolerated. You thought, if I love her harder, she'll see my worth. Nope. What happened? The more you gave, the less she respected you. The more available you were, the more invisible you became. And here's the raw truth most men don't want to face. She didn't leave because you weren't good enough. She left because you forgot to be a man first. You forgot to be the grounded, decisive, mission-driven version of yourself that attracted her in the first place. You started orbiting her. You put her at the center. You became soft emotionally, mentally, spiritually, not in a healthy, open way, but in a dependent, needy way. And she felt that women don't say it outright, but they sense it. When your world revolves around them, they start looking for the exit, because deep down, they crave leadership, not submission. Stoicism isn't about suppressing your feelings. It's about not being ruled by them. And in this phase, your emotions ran the show. You reacted. You overthought. You chased validation instead of standing firm in your values. That's why you fell. You stopped leading. You stopped choosing yourself. And she responded the way nature always does when imbalance enters the equation. She corrected it. She left. But here's the beauty in the fall. It wakes you up. It strips away the illusion. It shows you that giving everything to someone who gives you breadcrumbs is not love. It's self-abandonment. And when you realize that, that's the moment you begin to rise, not for her, for you. Because the man you used to be, the one who begged, pleaded, gave everything away, he's not coming with you. He dies here. And the man that's born in his place, he's got standards, boundaries, a mission, and he doesn't chase anymore. He attracts. Number 2, the silence. Stop explaining yourself. You wrote the texts, the long ones, the desperate ones. You told her how much she meant to you, how things could have been different, how you just wanted closure. You poured your heart out like she was going to suddenly respect the man she just walked away from. Nope, she didn't respond, or worse, she left you on red. Because here's the hard truth. When someone knows they've got your attention, no matter how they treat you, they stop valuing it. You thought words would win her back. But real men don't plead. They pause. They go silent, not out of bitterness, not to manipulate, but because they finally understand the power of restraint. In Stoicism, silence isn't emptiness. It's discipline. It's a weapon. When you stop explaining yourself, when you stop justifying your worth, when you stop giving her that emotional access, it flips the dynamic completely. She starts wondering why you stopped trying. She starts feeling the silence like a storm rolling in, and that's when doubt creeps in. Because women aren't used to real detachment. They're used to men who fold, who chase, who can't stand the distance. But you don't chase anymore. You observe, you build, you shift inward. You let your progress speak for itself. And when she realizes you're not playing the old role anymore, when she sees you've rewritten the script without her, that's when the regret begins to brew. Stop sending paragraphs to someone who wouldn't even read a sentence. Stop trying to prove your worth to someone who already had it and threw it away. Go quiet. Go dark. Let your absence scream louder than your presence ever did. Number 3, the mirror. Become who she thought you were. She didn't fall for the man who texted her back in 5 seconds. She didn't fall for the one who canceled plans just to be available. She didn't fall for the guy who constantly asked what was wrong, tried to fix everything, and made her the center of his world. Nope. She fell for the man you were before all that. The version of you that had presence, that had goals, that had fire in his eyes, and didn't need to be liked to feel valuable. That man had gravity. He had edge. And you let him slip. You traded him for comfort, for connection. You became who you thought she wanted. Soft, agreeable, always available. And in doing so, you became forgettable. Stoicism tells us that identity isn't found in what you feel. It's found in how you act, especially when it hurts. And right now, in the ashes of that heartbreak, you've got 2 choices: stay broken or rebuild stronger. And this time, you build with precision. You don't just go back to the man she was drawn to. You evolve beyond him. You work in silence. You grind when no one's watching. You become obsessed with mastery, not for attention, not for her approval, but because you finally remember who the hell you are. That mirror you became, smash it. Because the real you, the focused, stoic, unstoppable version, doesn't chase. He doesn't bend. He becomes. And when she sees it, when she stumbles across a version of you she barely recognizes, it won't just hit her. It'll haunt her, because you didn't just become what she wanted. You became what she could never handle. Number 4, the shift. You're not her therapist. She came to you with chaos and you thought love meant fixing it. She vented. You listened. She broke down. You held her up. She blamed the world. And eventually, she blamed you. And still, you stayed thinking your patience would prove your worth. Nope. It just proved you had no boundaries. You weren't her boyfriend. You became her emotional crutch, her personal therapist, her backup plan when things fell apart. And the worst part, she never respected you for it. Here's the hard truth. Women don't value the man who absorbs their emotional baggage. They value the man who protects his peace. Stoicism teaches us to control what we allow into our mind and our space. You can have compassion, but without boundaries, it becomes self-destruction. You're not cold for stepping back. You're clear about the fact that her pain isn't your responsibility to solve. Clear that your purpose doesn't revolve around healing someone who refuses to heal themselves. You're not her savior. You're not her shield. You're a man on a mission, and that mission requires focus. The shift happens when you stop picking up emotional burdens that were never yours to carry. When you stop explaining yourself. When you stop letting guilt keep you in a role you never agreed to play. That's when your energy changes, and trust me, when that happens, she'll feel it. She'll feel the absence of your emotional labor. She'll feel the silence where your reassurance used to be, and it will rattle her because now she has to face her own reflection without you holding the mirror. Number 5, the replacement. Let her wonder. She knew everything about you, where you were, who you were with, what you were feeling, because you made sure of it. You wanted her to know you still cared, that you were still there, that you were still waiting. You thought visibility meant value. Nope, it meant predictability. And once someone feels like they've got you on a leash, they stop respecting you. Your consistency became background noise. You were available, and availability without boundaries kills attraction. Now everything changes. You go quiet. You stop showing up on her feed. You stop reacting to her life like you're still a part of it. You stop posting vague quotes, hoping she'll take the hint. No more digital breadcrumbs. No more emotional exposure. You vanish. Not to provoke her, but to protect your progress. That's where Stoicism hits different. Because a Stoic man doesn't need to announce his growth. He just grows silently, relentlessly. And what happens next is almost predictable. She starts wondering. She starts checking. She starts feeling the absence she never thought would come. Because the moment she realizes you're no longer orbiting her world, her imagination kicks in. What if he met someone else? What if he's thriving without me? What if he's becoming the man I always said I wanted, but with someone who isn't me? That mental loop spins fast, and it's brutal because she can't ask and you won't answer. You've cut the feed. You become a question with no resolution. But here's the key. The replacement isn't another woman. It's purpose. It's discipline. It's the version of you that she never got to meet because you were too busy trying to be everything for her. You've reclaimed your focus. And now you're unreachable, not because you're hiding, but because you're rising. The man she took for granted no longer exists. Number 6, the shadow. Use her rejection as a weapon. Rejection hurts. There's no sugarcoating it. She left, ignored your calls, ghosted your feelings, maybe even replaced you like you were nothing. And yeah, it tore you up. It made you question your worth, made you replay everything, wondering where it all went wrong. But here's the truth. Rejection isn't the end. It's the beginning. It's the ignition switch. The question isn't why did she leave? The question is, what are you going to do with the pain she left behind? Stoicism doesn't teach you to pretend the pain isn't real. It teaches you to harness it, to take that raw energy and convert it into power. And when you do that, when you stop spiraling and start strategizing, you become dangerous. Not to her, but to every version of yourself that ever settled for less. That rejection you feel, That's pressure. That's fuel. That's the fire that wakes you up early, keeps you focused, makes you sharper, harder, faster. And while she's out there chasing distractions, you're turning pain into progress. This is where dark psychology comes in, because nothing sticks in someone's mind more than the person who didn't just bounce back, but leveled up. When she sees you stronger, cleaner, more disciplined, more respected, more admired, it eats at her, because deep down she'll know, I triggered this transformation and I'll never get to benefit from it. That's karma, not revenge, just consequence. So stop seeing her rejection as a curse. Start seeing it as a gift, a blueprint for who you need to become. You're not broken. You're being rebuilt. Number 7, the throne. Reclaim your time and space. She used to own your time, your mornings, your nights, your focus. You'd drop what you were doing just to text back. You'd skip the gym, delay the hustle, pause your goals, all for a maybe, we'll see. You gave her your time like it was free, and she spent it like it was worthless. But here's what you missed. Attention is currency, and in the Stoic mindset, your time is your throne. If you don't protect it, you lose your kingdom. Now that she's gone, you finally see it. Time is the most expensive thing you can give, and you gave it to someone who didn't earn it. That ends now. You reclaim your mornings. You dominate your schedule. You stop saying yes to things that slow you down. You don't explain why you're unavailable. You just are. Because men on a mission don't negotiate their calendar with people who never made space for them in return. And what happens next? She starts to notice not just the absence, but the momentum. You're not where she left you. You're building, creating, growing, and she's not invited. That access is revoked. Because when a Stoic man reclaims his time, he becomes untouchable. You no longer ask, what is she doing? You ask, what am I building today? That's power. That's presence. That's how kings think. Let her wonder where you are. Let her realize she's no longer the center of your world, because your time is no longer up for grabs. It's invested in your future. Number 8, the frame. Don't chase, attract. You used to chase. Her approval, her attention, her validation. Every move you made was calculated to pull her closer. You thought showing her how much you cared would make her stay. Nope. All it did was flip the frame. You gave her the power, and she used it. She set the pace. You followed. And the second you stepped out of your masculine frame, the dynamic collapsed. Because deep down, no one is attracted to desperation. They're attracted to confidence, independence, presence. In Stoicism, the frame is everything. You don't react, you respond. You don't follow, you lead. You don't chase, you attract. And the only way to attract is to become valuable. Not to her, to yourself. You lock in. You focus on your fitness, your finances, your purpose. You build a life so full that anyone who steps into it has to bring something real, or they'll get left behind. And suddenly, the energy shifts. She's no longer in control. She starts asking questions, wondering, reaching, because she feels the gap between the man you were and the man you've become. Dark psychology says the person who cares less holds the power. But real power isn't about caring less. It's about needing less. You no longer need her to be fulfilled. You no longer wait for her to validate your worth. You don't chase anymore because you understand that the moment you stopped, everything she thought she controlled slipped out of her hands. You are the frame now. And if she can't match your energy, she doesn't get a seat at your table. Number 9, the echo. She feels the absence. At first, she didn't notice. You went silent and she thought it was temporary, a phase, a reaction. She thought you'd fold like you always did. Text again, check in, leave a comment, watch her story. But you didn't. You vanished. Not out of spite, but out of strength. And that silence, it started to echo. Because women don't feel your presence when you're chasing. They feel it when it's gone, when the validation stops, when the good morning texts don't come, when the constant access they once had turns into a locked door. Stoicism teaches that presence isn't about noise, it's about intention. You are giving too much of yourself with no return, and now you're gone. You're focused, you're calm, you're building quietly. And that quiet, it speaks louder than anything you ever said. It gets in her head because silence doesn't give her answers. It forces her to ask questions. Why isn't he reaching out? Did he stop caring? Is he really done? And with no closure, no reaction, no drama, she's left alone with the echo. This is the power of absence. When you detach, you stop feeding the loop. You take your energy back. And when she finally realizes what she lost, you're already too far ahead because you didn't go quiet to hurt her. You went quiet to hear yourself again. And now that you found that inner voice, you don't give it up for anyone. Let her feel the silence. Let her sit with the emptiness she created. You don't break that silence. She does, if she ever finds the courage. Number 10, the ascension. She becomes irrelevant. There was a time when everything reminded you of her. A song, a street, a scent. You'd wake up thinking about what she was doing, who she was with, if she missed you yet. Every moment was haunted by her shadow. But here's what you didn't realize. Those thoughts were chains. And now you've broken them because you've done what most never do. You ascended. You outgrew her. Not in a petty surface level way, in a deep soul level shift. She no longer sits on a pedestal. She's just another person from your past. That's the final transformation. Not indifference as a tactic, but indifference as truth. You no longer crave closure. You no longer rehearse conversations. You no longer need her to feel whole, validated, or seen. Why? Because you've seen yourself. You've done the work, the workouts, the reflection, the discipline, the rebuilding. And when a man rebuilds from pain, he comes back harder to reach, harder to shake, harder to forget. That's the reward for surviving the fire, clarity. And with that clarity comes freedom. Now she watches from a distance. Maybe she reaches out, maybe she doesn't. But it doesn't matter, because you don't move for her anymore. You don't bend. You don't fantasize. She's no longer a chapter you want to reread. She's just part of the story that made the man you are now. And that man, he's untouchable. Not because he's bitter, but because he finally knows his worth. So now you know the moment you stop giving a damn isn't the end. It's the beginning. The beginning of your evolution, your discipline, your silence, your rise. This isn't about her anymore. It never was. This is about you, about the man who gave too much, lost himself, and came back 10 times sharper. You don't chase, you don't explain, you don't break. You build, you focus, you lead. And when you stop centering your world around someone who couldn't handle your heart, you finally step into the man you were born to be. She might regret losing you. She might wonder. She might reach back out. But by the time she does, it won't even matter, because the version of you she once knew doesn't exist anymore. You're no longer her safety net. You're no longer her therapist, her mirror, or her backup plan. You're a force, a frame, a man on his throne. And once you reach that level of detachment, that level of clarity, she loses her grip entirely. This is the Stoic path. Quiet, strong, focused, and absolutely untouchable. If this hit different, if you're done being the one who breaks and ready to be the one who builds, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and one more time, comment below. I move for no one. Thanks for watching Socratic Sage Sanctuary, where we don't chase, we don't fold, and we don't beg. We rise, we build, we become. Until next time, stay sharp, stay focused, and stay untouchable.